what it is. How's it going, everybody? Today we're having another Talk About segment where this time we're talking about remakes. More specifically, the Disney live-action remakes. We're going to talk about all the things of how we just sick and tired of seeing these movies pop up. Please stop. That's the message of this whole video. We could stop here, but you need to listen to the rest of this podcast goodness. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the first ones to die.
Hey everyone, welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. Today, we're doing a special edition of one of our beloved First Ones to Die Talk About episodes, and we're talking about Disney remakes. And Jerome, already off the bat, I have to confront something that you said in the intro, because you said we are tired of these remakes. There's no we. I am eating all this remake goodness up, all right? Okay?
I am kind of siding with Jerome, so technically there is a we going on. Like, some of them ain't bad. I will give credit to some of them. But, like, why all of a sudden, like, are all these live actions being made?
Well, because it's, you know what it is that it's like they did it like the Marvel Universe did it, right? Where they needed to prove a concept first before they decided to go the full mile. Because at first it was just I think the original plan was it's supposed to be just Cinderella for a little bit, and they did Cinderella and it made a good chunk of money. It did very well. Then they did Jungle Book, and then that did very well as well. And I like both those movies. I think Jungle Book is the better one. If anything, I would say Jungle Book has been my favorite out of these, excluding Cruella. But I feel like Cruella is like its own thing. It's not really a live action remake as much as it's more of a reimagining of the 101 Dalmatians like story. Kind of like Wicked is like a reimagining of like the Wizard of Oz. So I don't really consider that in the same vein. But Jungle Book for sure. It's like it was its own thing. It was very creative and interesting. It's fantastic. I love Jungle Book a lot. And I respect that movie a lot. And the technology, too. It looked phenomenal. And then after those movies did so well, they were like, all right, gates are open. Let's do it. And so then they started just doing, like, announcing them back to back to back to back to back.
Well, that's my thing. When people ask, like, why is Disney making this movie? We know why, because they want money. They want money, and they know that they have a product that people either have nostalgia with or want to introduce to their kids. And therefore, they know that would almost guarantee them a profit.
Well, it's 50% that, and the other 50% is people go see them. People complain, exactly. But then they still go watch these movies.
Well, I think sometimes the complaining audience is different than the people who watch them audience. The parents might be complaining, but they're going to take their kids to the audience because they want to shut them up for 2 hours.
That's true, yeah.
They don't, though. That doesn't shut the kids up.
But in my opinion, I'm fine with them. I'm not one of those people. Like, sometimes I haven't seen all of the remakes, I don't think. But a lot of times I won't, like, complain about them because, people ask, oh, this is so unnecessary. But if we think about it, we can say that about a whole bunch of stuff. Like, there are people out there who have watched movies multiple times on end, and you're watching the same movie. Why not just watch another adaptation of it in live action? Also, like, that you could say the same thing about adapting something to the stage, adapting a book from a movie. You're adapting something from its original form into something else. I especially like when they do something different with it, like, case in point, this might be topical, but The Little Mermaid. They have a black mermaid. They did some...
Which review coming, by the way. So yes. Look out for that.
They did some different things with the casting and everything. So I think in doing that, it changes the story. It changes the kind of... it not the core of the story, but it changes the way it's told, and I appreciate that.
I would disagree with you on that one though, because it doesn't change the story. The story is the exact same.
Right. That's
the
why I
fact
said
that she's a black
it doesn't-
mermaid has nothing to do with anything outside of like for the meta part of it. We as people know that the original cartoon, all the characters are white, but outside of that, her race does not factor into the fact that she's a black mermaid or any of the other
what Jonathan
characters.
is saying about sometimes changing the core of it, because like with Maleficent and Cruella, it does add more to the original story. But then there's like the newest movie, Peter Pan and Wendy, is another retelling, and they changed it into a whole nother thing. And Mulan, because they took out key characters like Mushu and the cricket, I think they took out the cricket. I never actually saw
They
it.
took out, Mushu and the cricket. That movie suffered from the problem of just making the hero, like, the hero before we get to the hero's journey, essentially.
Which
like, she has
originally they had
powers
said
and stuff, you know?
They wanted her to be normal and like everything, and then they automatically she's already like a master at running across buildings and stuff. So like there are some stories that definitely get changed to core because they remove characters or they change the way the characters are. Mm-hmm. Like even with the Beauty and the Beast, Emma Watson one, there was a change in the story because they made Gaston more understandable. Like that man straight up has PTSD. He like almost has a panic attack in that movie. I was like, oh, okay, he's not so much fully a creep, but he is still a creep. So there is a way to like change it to its core in this weird way. But my problem is, why are they doing these live action movies of like that aren't technically live action? They end up being just CGI, like with The Lion King. And a good chunk of Jungle Book, it only had one.
But at least it has a human actor in it, so you can argue like it's live action. I remember when Lion King came out, everyone's like, it's a live action remake. I'm like, no, it's not. It's a very expensive cartoon. That's what it is. Not to insult those who do CG work, because it looked beautiful. You know, the CG looks damn near lifelike, and that was really impressive. But I'm like, I'm not going to give it the credit of it's a live action movie. If you're not going to consider something like a Polar Express a live action movie, because it's the same thing, it's just they didn't have the same technology we have today. If that movie is not considered the live action movie, considering it has actors' faces in it and everything, but everything is CG 210%, Lion King ain't a live action movie either.
But does Disney call it a live action movie, or is that just us calling it?
I mean,
it has been called
it has been called that, yeah. And on the list of live action remake movies, that one seems to find its way on there every time.
It's also with the live actions. A lot of the things about Disney cartoons or the old ones or the old movies where they were very colorful, they were very magical. And you watch a lot of the live action ones, they're very muted and it's no longer feeling like it's magical. So I think it takes out like that's substance from it too.
I would say so for the Lion King thing and like the Jungle Book, I would say it's more so less of the live action element and more so one, again, them wanting to make money. Live action, the Lion King made...
I mean, it made $1 billion. It made over $1 billion. It nearly made $2 billion.
Right. And also producing something... Because in 1998 or 1994, when the original Lion King came out, you wouldn't have been able to do what you did in the most recent Lion King with this type of technology, this type of CGI, and also wanting to showcase like, oh, look at the talent we have. We got Beyonce for this movie. We got Childish Gambino. We got all these people. So I think those three things are some of the main, contributors to wanting to produce that type of movie. And also responding to the Little Mermaid thing. I disagree that her being black doesn't change the story. It may not be explicitly like, you're a mermaid, you're black, oh my gosh. But it's more so of like the fact that she is a black mermaid not only has a connection to the audience, but the fact that she has these wonderful, beautiful, and I know we're getting to our Little Mermaid review next week, but the fact that she has these dreads when she's swimming in the ocean, the fact that King Triton has all of these different race daughters that represent all of these different countries. There are so many, I feel like there are a lot of undertones that you can't ignore when you're watching a movie like this.
I will give you that.
Fair. That I do like how they gave her more natural hair than they would have just like straightened it and
That's
made it
true,
like
because I remember when,
Ariel's.
this is kind of off topic a little bit, but I remember when Spider-Man Homecoming was coming out and it was announced that Zendaya was going to be playing Mary Jane. A lot of people were like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And then she posted on her Instagram, I think that day or a little later that week, a picture of her with like this stark red hair. And it was a good looking picture because Zendaya is a beautiful woman or whatever. But I remember just being like, please don't tell me that's how she looks in the movie, because it so clearly looks like she's either wearing a wig or they have like straight up just dyed her hair like bleach red. Luckily it wasn't though. And I'm like, cool. They let her keep just her regular natural hair. Like if she's a Mary Jane, that's fine with me. I don't care about that. But at the same time, don't try and be so like, but she's still the same person, though. It's like, no, she's not. If she's black, she's black. You just gonna have to accept that. My biggest thing with the remakes, though, is that I'm like, for me, it's like the changes they make are always the most bare minimum changes. It's never anything that has a real impact on the movie. Like, cause like, for example, they, for Beauty and the Beast, their big thing, one of their big selling points was, oh, and LeFou, guess what, y'all? He's gay now. And it's like, I know there was always these subtle undertones in the original, but now
like
it's official.
5 seconds
Exactly.
of it,
Which all you see, the
That's
most
it.
you get out of that is him dancing with the guy at the very end and they share a look together. That's it. And that's what I mean. That's my issue with the live action remakes. I wouldn't have a problem with them if it didn't feel like a lot of these movies, they're like Jonathan said, they're very much cash grabs, and it only feels that way because they don't go the full mile to make these movies as best as possible. They just make them to make them, and they know people will just go see them as long as they do the bare minimum to satisfy the average viewer of like, do we need to change the story? Nah. Do we need to add maybe some more life to this? Because it's not going to be as colorful as the animation was. And there's things we can't do that animation can do. So to make this its own, nah, we don't need to do that. We'll just make it the same. People will come see it anyway. And that's why these movies critically have not done so well. Like financially, they've done great. Because, because of course they have the kid audience. And if the kids want to see it, parents are going to see it. And if parents have multiple kids, that's what, like 4 tickets sold for the movie, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's always going to make money. But it's just the thing of like, they just feel artistically bankrupt. A lot of them. Not all of them. I think Cruella was very inventive. I thought that was really cool. I respect Lion King for its amount of vision it had in using the CG. Because again, the CG in that movie is top notch. It's up there with like the avatars and stuff of like how good and how crisp and clean it looks. It looks really good. Stills of that movie look like Animal Planet.
Also brings into the question of like, yeah, they look like actual animals because the CG was so clean and crisp, but animals don't have facial expressions like what you would have gotten in the animation. So a lot of people are like, this is kind of weird just staring at a deadpan, Simba being like, I'm so sad, I lost my parent. And it's like,
Can't
nothing.
tell.
I can't tell. Like, there's nothing. So there's that also bringing in that CGI that you lose, with animation.
Well, you know what it also is? A piece of that is that, and that's because I was watching Jungle Book, and I was like, why does Jungle Book work where Lion King doesn't? Because Jungle Book has the same problem. Like, all these animals look very real. And you've got, like, Shere Khan, right, in that movie where he's a tiger. Tigers have the same bone and face structure as Lion King. But the difference is that I think the other difference is that a lot of the actors they hired for Jungle Book know how to voice act. Because that's the other part of it, is like they want to hire people to do these like cartoony characters, but voice acting is a different animal than live action acting. Because live action is all about the face, body movement, like, the audience can see you, so they can pick up all those cues. When you're voice acting, you have to let your voice do all of that for you because you don't know what the character, especially because a lot of time when you're voice acting, you don't know what the character's going to look like. They give you like a pre-rendered animatic, just showing like where the character's going to move and do, so you can get some of the basics down, like especially if there's an action sequence, but maybe it's not a fully finished, like rendered scene just yet. And so you gotta like be able to really sell what's happening. In Jungle Book, Idris Elba, Bill Murray, Ben Kingsley, like they know how to sell it. Lion King, some of them do, not everybody does. And so not all of the performances are at the same level. Also, they did Childish Gambino and Beyonce wrong by having them sing Can You Feel the Love Tonight, but definitely didn't have them in the same booth together, because Beyonce's singing circles around Childish Gambino, and he's trying his best to keep up, but he can't. But I feel like if they were in the same booth together, they would have known how, like Beyonce and Childish Gambino would have
harmonized better.
They would have harmonized better. But because they didn't, it just sounds like two people singing, and they just so happen to be in the same room.
My other thing is the Disney films they are choosing to live action.
Yeah, because we got a lot coming up.
Yeah, like there's quite a few. But one of the ones is like, why would you think Hunchback is a good one with the issues in that film? Why would you think like Hercules? Who wants a Hercules live? I could see people.
I
but,
do.
Like, Bambi's
I
on
do
that
want
list.
to. I'm like, I'll talk shit
then.
about these movies, but I still want to see Hercules live action.
You want the music. But what
I
about
want the
Bambi?
music. Yeah, I want the music. It's true.
Who wants Bambi live action? Who wants
That
to
we
see the
can
mom
keep.
die at the beginning?
That we can keep. Like we don't need the Bambi. We don't need Fox and the Hound. We don't need those. But
If they ever make a live action Fox and the Hound,
you know they will.
I feel like we don't need
I'll
Aristocats
watch
either, and I love Aristocats, but I'm like, Aristocats is like one of those things where it's like a cult Disney classic. It's not like the same as like Aladdin or you know, like a Tarzan.
You know why?
Mulan,
Well, the fact that
we'd
we'd be getting Aristocats before Treasure Planet. No, that's
again do Treasure Planet.
Or Atlantis. Is
Treasure
Atlantis?
Planet
Atlantis.
Is-
Yeah.
or Atlantis. That
I've not
too.
seen Treasure Planet, but Atlantis I loved and I want that. Yeah, that's what I was like, why are you choosing these films that have like their own personal issues, because they are movies from the 1960s and the 1970s that already have like issues in the modern day? Why are you choosing those when you have these like films that people are literally like, you're doing live action, you want our money? Make this film, we will give you our money.
That's
very
probably
simple.
That's probably my biggest gripe with the live. Other than the fact that they're making them, I have no gripe with the fact that they're making them. But like you said, the ones that they are making, the fact that they are clearly playing in our faces by not making a Treasure Planet and or Atlantis, they are clearly like playing with us. They'd rather make, I don't know, they'd rather make Christopher
Moana?
Robin. They'd rather make
Christopher
Christopher
Robin.
Robin
Oh my god, I forgot
versus
about
a Treasure
that.
Planet movie. A Treasure Planet would be epic, and you could release it on Disney Plus. We don't care.
Okay,
as long
but
as we get
Jonathan,
it.
you know why they're not going to make... I'll tell you why they're not going to make Treasure Planet or Atlantis. Because that would require effort. It's easier to make the ones that succeeded than the ones that didn't. Because Treasure Planet didn't hit when it came out, nor did Atlantis, despite the fact that they're actually really good movies that people are missing out. But, like... people didn't really see those
It's on
movies.
my list to watch.
And instead of they make those movies, they won't make them because that requires them to have to work. Why would we do that when we could just make ones that we already make? We have to put little to no effort in because the script's already written, and all we got to do is hire some actors that people know and add a few songs that people know, and people will watch. That's it.
I think also...
But we got all these people petitioning for the Sword and the Stone, though.
I haven't seen that either.
That one's a classic one, but it's
Or Robin Hood.
it is weird that they're picking to do that one. That is a bit of a weird choice, I'll admit.
Is Robin Hood gonna be just a furry movie then? Because aren't they foxes in that film?
Yeah.
I mean, they've already done Lion King. They figure they can get away with it at this point.
But this has to be like a fox standing on 2 feet, like shooting a bow. It's not like they can have like in Robin Hood clothing, just a fox walking around.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what
That's
it's gonna
also
look
like
like.
the thing. That's the difference between like Aristocrats and Bambi to like Robin Hood, where it's like you have these creatures that are clearly walking and going about. So it's gonna end up looking kind of like a furry movie, which I guess Zootopia did, but that's still a CGI film. I think also with the sketching and the design of like the aristocrats is more simple because everything was drawn by hand. Not that it was simple. It was still very complex, beautiful work. And one of the reasons I do like still watching that movie is because you can still see some of the outlines and drawings that they weren't like erased out in the movie still. And I think that's really cool. And you can just see the artist's work. But because everything was hand drawn, it was smaller and tighter compared to like Atlantis, which was like in the 90s, which they were able to do more pages. They were able to make more of it. So I think that would also lead into more complexity of it. And they did do something like that for what is that movie with Ben Barnes? Stardust. They had something like that, you know, where it was a pirate ship in the sky and everything. So they have like the ability to make that movie already. They just need to, I mean, Thor even traveled, but he was traveling on a rainbow. Point is, the ability is there. Yeah, they just don't want to put in the effort.
Also, how the hell are they supposed to do Snow White? Because for
What do
a
you mean?
studio that's, well, because I'm thinking, and granted, we haven't seen, or at least I haven't seen Little Mermaid yet, so I don't know, because I also thought the same thing about Little Mermaid too. where
Okay,
I'm like, these stories are not exactly the most PC stories that exist. I mean, Little Mermaid's about a woman who gives up her voice to be with this man. Like,
I'm
you know what I mean?
I'm coming into this podcast after having watched The Little Mermaid yesterday, so
Okay,
that
so-
might have that might be a discrepancy in our opinions on the.
Okay, so I haven't seen Little Mermaid yet, so maybe they found a way around that to make it a little less like very.
Well, that's what
like,
I said earlier.
backwards.
Where a lot of these movies, because they were products of their time, have certain things. Like what they did with Dumbo. They took out the racist crows. But like in the key of actual
had to.
Dumbo. Yeah. But like in the actual Dumbo film, they were technically necessary to the story because they were part of it. And then you remove that, and then you had to find a filler, which creates these new characters, and that changes the story. Just like with Hunchback of Notre Dame, like how are they gonna like?
Yeah, the religious
There's a
persecution
lot.
is a part of the story. Gypsy culture is a part of the story. Like there's a lot you gotta
Disability.
change to make that
Yeah.
work.
There's
Like
also the
disability
mistreatment.
shaming is a part of
might-
the story.
They might do something because I know it's a stage musical that was actually at the Fifth Avenue Theater a few years ago, and in it they actually cast as what's his name? What's the Hunchback's name?
Quasimodo.
Quasimodo. They actually cast Quasi.
I didn't know
Was that a red? Oh.
It hit me like, oh,
The actor that they cast as Quasimodo was a deaf actor, and it was kind of like they're shaming him more so for that than like a physical disability. Yeah, they might go somewhere along those lines where it's like they cast an actor with a disability, and then it's like, oh, how they triumph from this and how it can relate to the real world.
You can make it work. In The Witcher, they made it work. Yennefer in the first season has a hunchback for a majority of the season, but she still gets like love scenes with
Surgery.
this like attractive dude and stuff.
yeah.
And, like,
After
but
she gets like painful surgery.
Before that, they hook up and everything. Like he's like, no, I love you, Yennefer. I love you as you are. But then when she gets the surgery, then he's like, I mean, but you fine as hell now too. Except either way, I'm down. I'm down to clown. But it's like they did do a way where it was like, you know, she stays in that form for a good chunk of time, and you get to see her just be a character. It's not just she's just a hunchback girl. So it can work. It's just the thing of like Snow White, even though the story is named after her, majority of her role in that story is to hang out with the dwarves and then go to sleep, and then the prince does all the work and then non-consensually kisses her to wake her up. No one told him that's how it worked. He just assumed it. So really, he's just a dude who walks up on a sleeping girl and he's like, yeah, now's my time. Let me get it in.
And the original Snow White story was more disturbing than that because he actually
Yeah.
sleeps with her and then has like multiple children before he's like, I'm going to finally move her to the castle because I'm tired of having sex with her dead body in the woods. And they drop her and the apple actually dislodges from her throat and that's how she wakes up.
So it's like,
Messed up.
how
The
are they
story
supposed to
of that.
do Snow White? Are they not? How are they gonna
Well,
make that an empowering tale of this woman, this heroine, like
Well,
clearly claiming her life?
Snow White was never a heroine. I
No,
think.
she wasn't. But you know that's what they're going
Cinderella
to do.
was more of a heroine.
You know what I mean? Like this is
Yeah.
Disney in the year 2023, our Lord. Although this movie's supposed to come out 2024, like they are going to do that.
Shut up. With the aristocrats, I mean, Edgar throws the cats into a river. He puts them in a bag and into the river. How much more disturbing is that going to be when they look like real cats? Like that's gonna
it'll be
mess
CG.
a
Right?
lot
Didn't
of
we
kids
learn
up.
from the Cats movie?
That's what's gonna be. It's gonna be CG cats. So that's how they're gonna get away with it. Like no cats were actually harmed.
Yeah, but if it looks close enough like a cat,
I mean, that's what they did in
like it's
Guardians.
gonna mess with you.
Have you seen Guardians 3 yet?
No, I'm kind of done with Marvel.
It's sad. There's a lot of it's like it's a shame. It's really good too. It's one of the better ones to come out as of late. But there's a lot of animal cruelty in that movie, and it's sad. Like, it's sad. It's a hard watch.
like
to get
Rocket's
through if you
backstory,
love
right?
animals. Yes, it's very sad. But it's because the CG's so good. Those animals look real, and you're just like, hey man, leave these animals alone. Leave these baby
with
raccoons
the
alone.
aristocrats too, they can possibly do that film if they follow more of the Guardians rule, like with Rocket, because the cats get up and they do play the instruments. Like they look like it's like the Lion King, where they're on their fours walking around and everything. But there's the scenes where they're doing the music and everything and dancing and like having a ball. So they could do that if they follow more of the CGI or the style of Guardians, and they do with Rocket. Makes more sense. Looks more clean, has that humanoid where it's not creepy, where it doesn't fall into like furry category. I feel like if they do the live action Robin Hood, it's definitely, there's something in my gut telling me this is definitely going to look almost furry like.
Well, they might do it like they make it a Disney Plus exclusive, because as of late they have done a few like that too. Like Pinocchio was Disney Plus exclusive. Lady and the Tramp was Disney Plus exclusive.
Which Pinocchio,
So-
by the way, first of all, I don't think it did. It got great reviews or did
It
well.
did not get great.
And it got
reviews, no.
completely overshadowed by Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Which
Yes, that is also
far-
true. I just, you know what it is? Is that it's not that I would have no problem with them coming out if it just felt like there was more to them than just the money aspect. You know what I mean? Because I think, like you said, Jonathan, there is like, like for example, hiring Halle Bailey to be the Little Mermaid. Like on paper, that does have a lot of interesting ideas for the audience enjoyment of it, especially because it's like when you consider there were TikToks going up of little black girls watching the Little Mermaid trailer and being like, "Oh, that's me," like and feeling like feeling seen, which there is a power to that. My thing is just that, like, I want that and more. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it has to be more than that. It has to be more than just like stunt casting. It should be that there's that. And this tells a very empowering story about this black girl's journey, even if she is a mermaid, whatever. Same, like, and it only feels that way.
We'll circle back to our little Mermaid, but I think from watching it, I think it did that.
Using another example, so we don't get spoilers or something. It's like when people were talking about changing Superman into a black man or how that character would be, and they're like, "No, you can't change Superman into a black person." Simply because the way Superman is written and trusted immediately by citizens of the metropolis area can only be if he is a white man. If you change Superman into a black man, his whole life has changed with it. He has now to deal with the racial issues and everything like that. With Little Mermaid, they're definitely not going to they most likely did not deal with the racial background because she's in the water. So I feel like that was not a deal. And and so when the character is changed into person of darker skin tone, that whole thing changes. Like what they did with Lilo and Stitch, and even though they cut out these scenes where I wish they had left him in the animation where the tourists are talking down to her when they see her, and it's absolutely a racial thing, where all these are like, oh, do you speak English? Even though they're in Hawaii. Or they're like, kid, do you know which direction the beach is? And all that, and they barely let her speak a word, and that, which again, we wish they had kept it. It's only like the outlines of it. So to just change a character into that, it feels pandering, because you're not you may have my looks, and I like that. Like with the Little Mermaid, I do like how she has her natural hair, because recently I've gone more with my natural hair. I've started using products that are closer to my hair type. I've stopped coloring my hair. I've stopped straightening it or using these harmful ways, and I like my frizziness, my waves, my curlies, and I like that. But I got to see the struggle of when like people of my skin tone are dealing with hair struggles too, and I understand, especially with Black women, it is a whole other story as well. So just changing a character in these live actions to a different race is great as a way for little kids to see themselves. But I think more as adults, we notice that they're not dealing with the issues we're dealing with. So it's definitely, we feel that pandering and like belittlement of like, you're just giving me something so I can be like, oh, hey, it's me. But it's not. It's not the same style.
And I can understand that about like how it's, you're just changing one element, and that one element is the person, but you're not changing their struggle or anything. But I would say sometimes I don't need to see the struggle. Sometimes I get tired of seeing the struggle on screen. Like sometimes let me just see somebody that looks like me in the ocean as a mermaid.
That's called Hairspray. We just did that review, actually. Although the struggle is there. The struggle is there a little bit.
Right.
But I see what you mean.
Yeah. But I also saw, and Little Mermaid's on the brain. But the director, Rob, I think it was Rob Marshall, he said that, when he watched Chloe and Halle's performance on the Grammys and then saw Halle sing, that's when he decided to call her in. And when she auditioned and sang Part of the World, he said that she blew everyone else out of the water, like no one was close.
I can believe that.
So I think,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think in another universe, I don't think Disney necessarily like went to say, hey, we're going to cast a Black mermaid. She's going to be black. She's going to be black. She's going to have locks. But I think rather they saw that Halle was the best one for the role, and then cast her because of that, and the representation just happened to come with it. So I wish they would do more things like that. It all like stems from my love of
Brandy Cinderella.
Brandy Cinderella, you know
what? I think if they mention that to us, because like I didn't know that. That's really cool. Then they really picked her on talent. But because we are flooded like on TikTok and Instagram about these racist people who have to always bring it up. It gets tiring. It's your face, and it does make you question. Knowing that story, it's like, oh, that's good, and it made me automatically think of Brandy Cinderella, where they chose just the actors who were also, great in their time period. They were bigger stars, and they were all just fantastic actresses and actors. And you didn't think once about how a white man and a Black woman had an Asian baby. You didn't. You were just like, yeah, go get her. Go get Brandy.
But you know what, though? That movie has an air of blackness to it, though. Maybe it's because Whitney Houston's in it, too. I don't know. But there's something about the way everybody carries themselves, the way the dialogue is delivered, the way the music sounds in that movie, where I'm like, this feels like a Black musical, even though it isn't. There's tons of people of all different types of races in that movie. It is not a Black musical, but it just has that feeling to it. You know what I mean? It has soul to it. And that's the only thing. It's like, I know Little Mermaid, when Halle's singing, has soul. When everybody else is singing, it's probably going to feel like Disney, white America, apple pie.
Did you forget Daveed Diggs is in the movie too?
Daveed Diggs is playing a Jamaican crab. And I've heard a little bit of Under the Sea. It don't sound better than the original. I'm sorry. It don't.
There are some
Also-
bops in there. I don't want to
There's a
spoil it
CGI
for you,
of it.
but Aquafina has a song in the movie.
I just keep thinking about how disturbing the
I'm
crowd
sorry.
looks.
I just can't imagine Aquafina singing. I know she's a rapper. I don't know
Yeah,
if
that's what I
she's a
mean. She
singer.
raps. She raps.
Okay, that's a little better. But she has a cartoony voice. She sells it. Like her little scenes of Scuttle that I've seen already, just in like promo stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm into it. I like her as Scuttle. I think that's great casting because she's got a great voice. So she's a fantastic actor. Both as voice actor and live action. I just like, and you know what it is too? It's like a thing where I'm like, y'all are always avoiding doing, granted, they start like Moana, that's cool, and Lilo and Stitch doing some people of color. Because I'm like, you keep putting people of color in all these white movies. Why don't you do the ones with the people of color? Like Moana, like Lilo and Stitch, like Princess and the Frog, like Atlantis. Know what I'm saying?
Like the ones people have asked for, actually
Right.
asked for. The ones that already have diversity in them. Even Hercules.
Which I think they said
he's
they are
Greek.
doing Princess and the Frog.
That's in no time soon. You see the list of upcoming movies. She ain't coming no time soon.
That's true.
And they're probably just gonna keep pushing it off till people forget that movie's even in the works and just don't even ask about it anymore. Real quick though, also just to go off Disney a little bit and stop picking on Disney a little bit. We also gotta talk about some of these other remakes that people don't need to be doing. Like RoboCop's getting another remake. Harry Potter's getting a remake as a Max series. Just
Well,
stop.
House Party got a remake.
House Party got a
White
remake.
Man
White Man
Can't Jump.
Well, it's made by the same person. I feel like after he got House Party greenlit, he was like, "But what about
And
White
I
Man
believe
Can't Jump?"
both of the movies flopped.
Yeah, they did not do well. Well, one of them just went straight to streaming.
Yeah, and it didn't
I
get
thought-
great reviews.
Yeah.
Second, also another thing that annoys me about these like remakes or shows or things are these movies getting turned into TV shows. Why? Why are you stretching
there's
out
supposed
so
to be
much
a new
farther?
Exorcist based off of and I'm sure it's gonna be not based off of the TV show, but it had a TV show and that
Yeah.
failed. So I'm like, why are you then doing a movie remake of The Exorcist? Like,
And when I saw White Man Can't Jump, I was like, I kept thinking, I'm like, is this a series or is this a movie? And for a while, the way it was like being shown or like the previews I saw looked like a series, and I was like, oh great, how are they going to stretch this out for like 13 episodes? So I also hate that when they make these remakes and they make them into shows and it's absolutely unnecessary. I think there's one coming out. Fatal Attraction's getting a show.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, I think it's out. Yeah, I
it's
think
on Paramount Plus, right? Yeah. I just like, you know what it is? It's like
I've
I
kind of been
wish-
interested in seeing it. The marketing has been kind of
Marketing
interesting.
has been good, but it's just a thing of like, you know what it like, it's just a thing where I'm like, I've always said it and I'll keep saying it. It's like, if you're gonna do remakes, don't remake the stuff that succeeded. If you made a really solid sandwich with a decent recipe, I mean a bomb recipe, this sandwich has been selling since 1900 whatever till now, nobody has stopped buying this sandwich. Why would you change the recipe? It's already perfect as it is. It don't need to be made different. It don't need to be changed. What you should be doing is taking them sandwiches you made that were trash, revisit those recipes, try and make those better. Remake the movies that had great ideas, just did not work for whatever reason, whether it be technology, whether it be just bad scripts, whatever it is.
But think about if you have a good plate of nachos, and you
I love the food
also
analogy, by the way.
have a, and you also have
Following it.
and you also have a good taco. Those two things are essentially the same ingredients, but
they're
they're
not
both
the same
amazing.
food item.
They're
not
both
the same
amazing
food item.
in the same way.
It's true. No, I'm just saying because I'm like, you know what it is? Because I'm like, it's never failed doing it that way, taking the stuff that's bad and make it good. You want to know why that Planet of the Apes trilogy worked out so well? Because they remade the bad Planet of the Apes movies. They didn't remake the one that was good. They took the ones that were the back half of those ones that came out in the 70s that were trash, remade those. But
that
because they were bad, nobody complained that they changed some things and did some things differently to allow them to be better. And
But
that's you know, I mean,
that was already a franchise, though.
but
Like
what I'm saying
it
is,
already. That's like Star Wars. Like you have
but
the
all they're
original
remaking
Star
is
Wars,
franchises. They're not
right?
remaking original stuff.
No,
Well,
but
okay.
based off,
Go
you
ahead.
wouldn't remake like Home on the Range. You remember that movie, Home on the Range, the animated Disney movie?
That's because I don't know. I don't know if anybody was
No.
is asking for Home on the Range.
Right.
I don't know certain films, okay? I try to watch them. Give me a moment.
I just no, but what I'm saying is that it's like no, it is a part of the franchise. But what I'm saying is that like they're not going to remake stuff that doesn't have a brand name. Like they're never going to do that. But they are like when you remake the stuff that because like Dune, for example, too. Dune failed the original because of the limitation of technology at the time. They didn't have the capability to do the things we can do now and make that sci-fi world really look like how it's supposed to look. But now that we do, you can remake Dune and you can make it look really cool and interesting and stuff. It's still a dense book, so that's still fighting against you. You know, you got a lot of text.
I think
to
I
get
own
through.
it. It's like hiding on my bookshelf. I think if you
You know.
acknowledge the changes, if you acknowledge that there is a difference between the original and this new edition, I think that also helps succeed it. Because like when they remade the Star Trek movies, they immediately were like, this is an alternative timeline. This is something different.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go and have all these shows on Paramount Plus. Like I'm watching Strange New World, which I absolutely love. It has young Spock. But it's not at all tied to Kirk. It's not at all tied to the original Star Trek. This is about Pike, about before him, everything before. So I think if you more so acknowledge, if you don't be like, oh yeah, and then suddenly you have a change in the story and people are like, people who have like cult followings on these movies and shows are like, wait, you're wrong. Well, it better fit what we were trying to do in today's world. That's where this issue comes a lot where it's like, well, now you're just messing with something you said was just a part of. I think if you break it away and are like, this is something a little bit new that we're trying, or this is an alternative timeline, or this is like our version, like with the different there are Snow White ones, with the one with Kristen Stewart.
Oh, Snow White and the
Snow White and the
Huntsman.
Huntsman.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, it's about Snow White, but we're focused on the Huntsman completely. And it's part of Snow White, but it isn't part of Snow White. And like with Maleficent? Did I say it right there? Maleficent, fuck it. They're like, yes, this is Sleeping Beauty, but like also it's not. This is a whole new story and a whole new point of view where you didn't know. They made that acknowledgement and then they were like, yeah, it's different.
That's what
That's
they're
what I'm
doing
saying,
with that
Cruella-
Aladdin movie.
Yeah,
Aladdin.
that's why I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. That's what they're doing with that Aladdin. What is it?
Prince Anders or whatever.
Prince Anders, untitled Prince Anders film.
See,
We
but
have-
the difference is
am
that
still
Cruella
shocked.
and Maleficent are characters people want to see stories about. No one knows who this dude is. He was made up for the live action movie.
The only
no
white
one's
character.
asking for him. Only white character. But it's like, I think that's why Jungle Book and Cruella have been, and Cinderella to a degree, have been critically acclaimed compared to the others. Like they successfully made money, but also critically they did well. And that's because they are not carbon copies of what we already got. The Jungle Book movie and the Jungle Book cartoon are two different things. There are some similarities, like they're similar characters. There's a few songs that they carry over from the Jungle Book cartoon into the Jungle Book movie. But for the most part, the plot's different. How characters interact is different. This, like even how they sing the songs, like the way they do it in the Jungle Book live action movie is not the same way they do it in the cartoon movie. And that's why that movie having those differences and changes allows that film to feel different and have a different vibe and feel to it. And also it's like when you're remaking something, you got to remember, if people remember the original fondly, all they're going to be doing is comparing to see, they're coming to see if your movie does those same things better or worse. And if you do them worse, I'm telling you now, no one will forget about it. If you do it better, people will be like, okay, cool, whatever, I got this other thing. Because everybody remembers your mistakes. They don't acknowledge your successes.
The other ones succeeded because they were different. They were basically alternate versions. Like I said with Star Trek, I'm a really big fan. they did not take in the full stories of like the original series, except for like Khan, and even Khan, they changed that to fit the new alternative they were in. I feel like with the Lion King, somebody said it was just like a copy and paste of the film that they just put.
It
together.
is. It's the exact same story.
Like
beat
even
for
the
beat.
trailer they released was like side by side shot.
Yeah.
And then like with Christopher Robin, it wasn't just about, this was an adult Christopher Robin. This was like older Christopher Robin finding his friends and being like, "Hey, I remember all this." And
I don't
even
know
with
anybody
Allison,
that watched that movie.
I've seen clips
Neither do
on it.
I.
I've seen clips on it, but that's what it was. And then like even with Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass, they connected the past story to be like, this happened when she was little, and now she's grown up, and it's like she's returning back. So there is a way to connect that past story to like a different story in like a clean way. But again, you just have to acknowledge we're gonna mess with the story. But like the real story's over here. It's just gonna be over here. So everybody leave it there and focus on this now. And then when you're doing like The Lion King and Aladdin, they're gonna do side by side because you're like, it's pretty much the same movie, except now we added some random white guy who we're gonna give a sequel to.
Now it's Will Smith as the genie. But and even if you do that, I think Cinderella is the perfect example of how to do it and do it right.
Which one?
Where it's like Brandy Cinderella is great too. It's perfect. But I mean in the vein of like how they're doing the live
2015
action
one.
remakes right now. Yeah, the 2015 one. That movie is more or less beat for beat the original Cinderella. But the nice things they add is they add a little more context to characters who maybe didn't have it, like the stepmom. Like we get an answer as to why the stepmom is so mean to Cinderella past just she's evil. That's all there is to know. It's like, no, we get a reason because she's a person. I'm like, why are you so cruel? Why are you so mean? You know what I mean?
That's why I'm excited to talk about Little Mermaid because I think
yeah, granted, I'm
you'll see
going
some
hard
good
at
stuff.
Little Mermaid, but maybe Little Mermaid like might surprise me. I'm not gonna lie because I haven't seen it yet, so I'm willing
But
to
I
give
don't
it
want
a
to.
chance.
I also don't want to set the expectations too high.
I'm just saying,
But
I am gonna give Little Mermaid a fair shake. I'm not gonna go in being like this gonna be trash, like because I like to talk a lot of shit. But when I actually watch the movie, I will give it a fair shake and give it a fair nod. But I'm just saying, it's just a thing where, and it also is. You know what else is the problem? Because Marvel's dealing with this problem too. It's also the volume. Maybe don't release so many at one time.
I thought you meant like the volume, like it's too loud, like the movie's
No.
too loud.
I mean because it's like I think it was like we got one Disney live action remake a year back in the Cinderella days. Like you got Cinderella, next year you got Jungle Book, next year you got whatever came out next year. But then I think that following year after Jungle Book, we got 4 of them in the same year. And then after that, it just kept coming out that way. Same thing with Marvel.
Oh yeah,
We used to
2019 we had Dumbo, Aladdin, The Lion King, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, Lady in the Tramp. We have 5 in 2019.
You know what I mean? It makes it feel like these are you don't want to give these movies time of day because they feel like just like getting shotgunned out to the audience. Same thing with Marvel. It's like there was a time we only ever got one Marvel movie a year. And that was enough for us. We were like, okay, well, I guess I have to wait till next year.
I think they also need to hold on until to only announce it when it starts filming or something, because that's what I miss back from like growing up was like you saw the preview and you're like, oh my god, I didn't know they were making this movie.
Yeah.
When you got Marvel over here being like, all right, we have stage 5, we're gonna announce stage 6. Here's everything we're
2030.
doing, and it's it's for like 10 fucking years, and it's like. Okay, I clearly know, where everybody was like, oh no, Superman's dead in like Endgames, but they're like, he's literally filming No Way Home right now. Literally, he's fine. So that like anticipation of like, will my favorite character survive? I already see that he's got two sequels down in like 2027 and 2030. Like, I know what's gonna happen already, and it kills that magic.
Kills suspense.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I am just trying to think about what's going to happen in my life tomorrow. I do not need to be thinking 5, 7, 8, 9 years in the future for something that I'm going to sit down and watch at a movie theater for 2 hours. I do not need that much anticipation in my life. I'd rather save that brain space for something a little more productive.
Because check this out. We got Snow White, March 22nd, 2024. Lilo and Stitch, May 10th, 2024. Which, mind you, that's only what, like a 3-month difference of time? Not even that, a little shorter than that. Lion King, July 2024. So literally another 3-month difference, new one. Then we got Moana still in development, but I'm pretty sure that's coming out fall 2024. Because why would you not?
Moana? I'd imagine that's later, because I don't know if they've even...
The only reason it'd be later in my head is because of the writer's strike. That's the only way I could see it coming out later than that. Because
on here, it's on Wikipedia. This is also Wikipedia, but on Wikipedia it says 2025, and Lilo and Stitch 2024.
I think Lilo and Stitch might be pushed back, not only because of the writer's strike, but because of the issues they are having with the actors they have recently chosen.
I saw that. Yeah, I know a lot of people were complaining about Nani.
What, from Moana?
No, sorry,
Yeah,
Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, for Lilo and Stitch. Got it. Gotcha.
A lot of people were saying that Nani, because the actress they cast, she was like...
She's very light-skinned. Light-skinned compared to the character in the cartoon. And then they're also taking away Bubbles and, like, replacing it, I forget who, but I'm going to say Melissa McCarthy. So it's also like, why are you taking away a character everybody loves? And it's, again, that whole whitewashing.
Oh, Zach Galifianakis is not Stitch.
I'm about to say, I'm pretty sure, I mean, you said that, I think, a while ago. I was like, that doesn't sound right.
No, he's going to be Dr. Jumba Jukaba.
Oh, Jumba,
the mad scientist.
Okay, yeah. That seems better. That seems more... No, the four-eyed guy who designed Stitch, who made him, the scientist.
Mm-hmm. The voice, the alien.
Yeah.
There's a good chunk of aliens in there. I do not recall him. Let me take a look.
The big guy.
Oh, is he not a shark?
There is a shark. That's a different Shark Man is a different character. Completely different character. He's another alien.
Oh, Tia Carrere is going to be in it.
I just, I'm just saying. I feel
Courtney
like
B. Vance. Sorry, I'm looking at the...
He should play Bubbles.
Yes, he is.
Okay, cool. But it's like, if they're going to... I feel like if they're going to keep making these remakes, just add a little bit more effort into them, I think, is the biggest thing. I have no problem with these movies, because I do think, on one hand, are they necessary? No. But I think there is something to be said about, same thing with the new Star Wars movies, where I'm like, those kids that watch those movies in theaters when they were coming out can say, I went to theaters to watch a Star Wars movie. There's a part of a legacy of that. Because I have that legacy. When I was a kid, the prequels were coming out. And, when my dad was a kid, the original Star Wars was coming out. There's just something fun about that legacy in there. And I feel like it's the same thing with these live-action Disney remakes, where I'm never going to know what it was like to watch the original Little Mermaid or the original Beauty and the Beast in theaters, unless I go see it with the re-release, and even then that's not the same as when it originally came out.
They remastered it too.
Yeah, but these kids can say, yeah, I remember watching Beauty and the Beast in theaters. Maybe it's not the cartoon version, but it is like a version, you know what I mean? And it is a different experience. And on top of that, it's like, they can make these tales that maybe weren't so PC back in the day. They can make some changes that might make them a little more universally acceptable to modern day audiences. So I won't say that there's no merit at all to these movies being made. It's just that it's like, for me, I just want them to add a little bit more than the bare minimum when it comes to making them. Because it's not like they haven't done it before. They've got Jungle Book. They've got Maleficent. They've got Cruella. They've got even the original, the 2015 Cinderella. And the Brandy Cinderella, too, even though it's not in the same batch of movies, it's in there, too. So it's like, there's not like you haven't done it before and haven't done it well before.
And you can adjust the films to modern day standards, because they did that with Dumbo. They were able to adjust it to make it still a pretty successful film without the heavy, heavy tones of racism throughout that entire film. Which is, I actually not recently, but like around the time Dumbo was coming out, I watched a cartoon. There's a lot more in there for a cartoon about elephants. It's not just the crows, man. But they were it was genuinely not just the crows. That whole movie, there was no reason for as much racism in that film about elephants. But they were able to adjust it to the standards of today, and it was good for kids, and it still had that struggle. And a lot of these character struggles, yeah, with like Snow White, can still be in there, of the running away, dealing with this crazy stepmom. A lot of these stepmoms are crazy. It can be in there. All you have to do is adjust certain things. And you don't always have to take out the racism of everything or that conflict, because like that's still something you're going to deal with. Like, that's something you still deal with today and you see in cartoons and films. Sometimes it's really funny to see it in cartoons for like kids movies. You're like, hey, wait a minute.
I mean, it's just like they say Jonathan, you'll know this for a fact, but they say they changed the lyrics to "Kiss the Girl" in Little Mermaid too, and I'm like, that makes sense. Like that, it's a little like a little forceful with it. I'm just like, just kiss her, do it now.
Yeah. and they kind of like changed the intention of Ursula's spell as well. I won't get into details, but they changed they added an addendum to her spell as well, which, you know, made it a little bit more 2023 friendly.
All right, we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah, because we've been going. This is supposed to be a shorter segment, but it ended up being an hour.
A full episode length.
Yeah.
All in all, I'm cool with the remakes that Disney is making. I just won't, like, I'll watch the ones I want to watch, and I won't watch the ones that I don't want to watch. I think it stems
Which is a good rule to live by.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't watch Lion King. I did not. I still to this day have not watched that movie.
You haven't seen Lion King?
No. Why? What for? I watched the music videos that are the songs. Those are the only parts of the movie I needed to see. The rest of it is like, I can get the visual excellence from just watching 15 seconds of that movie. I don't need to watch the full 2 hours because I've seen that movie already. It's called Lion King and it came out back in the 90s.
I think I'll watch it. Like, I enjoyed seeing the different iterations. Like, I saw The Lion King when I was a kid. I saw, The Lion King on Broadway. I mean, the stage musical, not on Broadway, but the stage musical. And then I saw this. So it's like just seeing those different iterations. I think it stems from my love of the Scooby-Doo live action movies growing up. Scooby-Doo, Flintstones, those will always be my jam and my first loves of remakes, live action remakes of movies. So I'm cool with the live action movies. The only movies that I'm not cool with and Disney needs to stop making is movies based off of Disneyland rides or themes, because those have proven.
They're trying to make another Pirates of the Caribbean. They really are. Right. They're trying to have one.
Besides Pirates of the Caribbean,
the Haunted Mansion kind of looks like it's going to be decent.
Haunted Mansion looks all right.
I'll watch that too. But it's like we've done that already. So
yeah, and it didn't work the last time.
A couple times, yeah, the last couple times.
But other than that, I'm cool with the remakes. Just stop with the Disneyland movie.
Well, you don't want Jungle Cruise too?
No. I don't want Space Mountain. I don't want Song of the South. Don't give me a Song of the South remake.
It's a Small World. You don't want that one?
God, that ride's creepy as hell.
Unless it was like a horror movie. Yeah,
yes,
I could get with that. It. That would be cool.
They're making that Freddy Fazbear movie.
Oh yeah, Freddy.
Yeah, which I'm actually really excited to see that because they have Matthew Willard.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard's in it,
and Joshua
Hutchinson. Is that his last
name?
name?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and it already looks like a pretty good film. Yeah,
he's been in TV mostly. He's been doing some Amazon Prime show, I think. But anyway, comment below, audience. Tell us what you think about not just the Disney live action remakes, but any remakes that you're maybe feeling or not feeling. Things you're excited for, not excited for. Comment below. Tell us what you think. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like, favorite, and subscribe, of course. And share. Share all these videos. Tell people. Tell the news.
Well, let's not tell the news. Let's keep it still subtle.
But yeah. And tune in to the First Ones to Die podcast on all our streaming services. Our streaming services. Anywhere audio streaming services that you can find podcasts like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. And also follow us there as well to hear some great podcast goodness every week. You heard it here first.
And catch us on all our social medias, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, although I don't think we really use Twitter, to see what's coming up, little clips and everything we're doing at the First Ones to Die.
Yes, and we'll see you all in our next episode.
Bye.
Bye.